Hello, and I don't know why I keep saying that. Hello and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I haven't got enough videos, I don't think, to be able to be like, welcome back. I've really been struggling the past couple of weeks, the past couple of months with figuring out what to put on my YouTube. And then today one of my Snapchat followers sent me a snap and said that she would love if I would talk in a blog post about fertility and having children and how to know when you want them, because it's something that she's really struggling with. It occurred to me that that might be an interesting thing to do a video about, especially as recently I did a commercial collaboration, #ad, with Charter Medical, where I talked about their executive health screen, and I also talked about the fact that I found out a while ago that I have really low AMH levels. I'm not really sure what that stands for, I'll put it down here, but it's something to do with the amount of eggs that your body has. Talking about my fertility was something that people were kind of interested in, that they were going, oh, you know, how do you feel having found that out? So what I want to talk about in this video is me. For a total change of topic, this is about me. I just wanted to talk about what it's like to be 31, to still not really want to have children, and what that means for me. A little bit of background. My mom has 2 kids. She would have liked to have had more, but as she told me when I was younger, that's just the amount of children that God blessed her with. She has myself and my sister, who's 7 years older. My sister has 3 children, 3 boys, and they live in Indiana. When I was very young, it was always assumed that I would have children. But at the same time, I've never particularly liked children. I don't look at children on the street and think, ugh. But I don't look at children on the street and think, oh my God, adorable, I really, really want one. And my mom would be that kind of person who would see a baby and be like, oh my God, what age is your baby? Show me your baby. And I just have zero interest. And so I would have said for most of my adult life that I don't think I want to have children. Now, disclaimer, whenever you say this to anybody, the number one reaction is, oh, you'll change your mind. And who knows, I might change my mind. I change my mind about coffee, I change my mind about Brussels sprouts, I change my mind about protein powder, who knows, I might change my mind about children. But at the same time, I'm very aware that there's a biological clock that is ticking. And I'm 31 now, it's something that I would probably want to start thinking about now if I do want to have them. And God, like, I had a conversation with my sister recently about this, and she said, well, you know, if you think there's any chance that you will regret not having them, you should have one, just in case. And I was like, that just seems like the worst reason in the world to have children, like just in case I regret it. Then of course there's the issue of my partner. So I've been going out with my boyfriend for 3 years, and he says that he doesn't want to have children either. I'm aware that he may change his mind, and it is a conversation that we've had, and it's a conversation that does really, really stress me out. And there's kind of no end point to it, because the sad reality is if he changes his mind in 10 years, it's only going to be too late for one of us. Then of course there's the fertility issue. So when I found out, it was about a year and a half ago, I went to Sims Clinic in Clonskee. It was for a feature they were doing for Ireland AM on TV3, and they asked me to go along, get a fertility test, and then talk about it on TV the next day. And I don't know, like, what? We're just so stupid. I just assumed that everything would be fine. I was like, of course, like, my sister had no problem getting pregnant, chances are I'm going to be fine. And then when I got the results back, they said essentially that my AMH levels were very low for my age. I think they were less than half of what they would expect them to be. And that would mean that if I want to have children, I'd want to start right now. Like, right now. And that was last year, and they were like, if you want to have kids, you want to start right now, or you want to freeze your eggs. And the issue for me around egg freezing, well, there's one issue that's everyone's issue, is that it's very expensive. It's kind of a difficult procedure. You have to take hormones. From what I gather, it's not a decision that you would take lightly. You wouldn't just go in and be like, I'll just pop out some eggs and freeze them. Like, it is a very long and involved thing. And of course, I have mental health issues, which I've documented in my other video that hopefully I'm going to put up here if I figure out how to do that. The idea of pumping myself full of hormones, it's just not something that I would be necessarily sure that I would survive. And I don't think it's worth risking going insane or getting incredibly depressed in order to freeze my eggs in case I change my mind and want to have kids in 5 or 6 or 7 years. And when I first found out that my AMH levels were low, I was really upset, because it suddenly felt like this choice that I had taken for granted. So I just thought to myself, I'm going to decide that at a later date. I think I was 29 or 30 when I found out, and I was going, you know what, I have plenty of time, I'll think about that in 4 or 5 or 6 years. And then to find out that actually this is something that you need to worry about and consider right now, it was a bit of a shock. So yeah, there are the fertility issues, there are the fact that my boyfriend's younger and doesn't want to have children, there's the fear of what if I wake up in 5 years and I want to have kids and it's too late. And that to me is kind of the most significant one, because I think having children is the only unknown that in a way we feel like we should know. I don't know, like it just feels like such an impossible conundrum to go over and over and over in your head. And I'm like, well, if we don't have kids, what if we regret it? Like we might regret it. What if I buy this house and I regret it? What if I get this dog and I regret it? What if I get this haircut and I regret it? And I know that having children is a much more significant thing. And then the other aspect, of course, is that we all go through kind of patterns in our life. So, you know, I remember I did transition year and a lot of people in my school didn't do it. It wasn't mandatory. And I remember just being so kind of annoyed that they were all graduating a year ahead of me and they were going into college. And then when they went to college, they were finished college a year ahead of me, and it seemed so unfair. And you do kind of get left behind if you miss these kind of seminal moments. So there is the concern, I think, that as your friends get married and settle down and have children, you'll be left behind, and you won't necessarily, I mean, you hear stories of people who don't have children who maybe aren't invited to like the kids' birthdays because the friends probably think that they're not bothered, but they still want to be included in these important moments in their friends' lives and their friends' children's lives. So I think it's kind of important to try to befriend other childless couples. Or that sounds very cynical, like you're going to interview people and be like, are you going to have children? There are also a whole load of pluses to not having children. Number one, and this sounds incredibly cynical, but actually is very, very practical, the planet has too many humans. The other one, and I mean, again, this sounds very cynical, and I fully would not be saying this if I really wanted to have children, and I hope this doesn't sound very insensitive to people who are trying to have children, but I think one of the pros for me is that I feel like I have my whole life ahead of me. If I definitely don't have children, and I feel like that window is narrowing, you know, so if I decide not to have children in the next couple of years, I'm probably not going to be able to have children. You have so much more money. You have so much more free time. You have all this freedom to take your holidays. Like, it's so silly, but, you know, so practical. Take your holidays on off-peak times to travel and do things that you wouldn't otherwise have to do. You do have all of these freedoms and this whole world kind of spread out in front of you where you go, I'm not going to be categorized into being a mother and then a parent, and I'm not going to have all these stresses. Like when I think about how you would parent a teenager today with Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, I really admire people who want to take that on, but I don't know that it's something that I would be able for. And I know, I mean, this is such a kind of a nothing conversation that can go around and around and around in circles. I don't think I want to have children. Actually, correction. I don't want to have children. Right now, I do not have any desire to have children. And I know as well that if we did have a child, it's very unlikely that we would regret that decision. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of the gamble, that you're like, well, if I decide to have a kid, it's very unlikely that I'll regret that, because you always, you know, you look at this baby and you're like, this baby is adorable, this baby is me. What could be better than a mini me? But at the same time, I'm kind of excited about the life that we have ahead of ourselves without children. And, you know, some people say that that's selfish, and maybe it is selfish, but wanting to reproduce and bring your genes into the world when the world already has too many people is maybe selfish as well. So, yeah. If you got this far, well done. If you want me to do more random YouTube videos where I talk about my random thoughts about things and share with you details of my life that my mother would be ashamed that I'm sharing with anyone, please give this a thumbs up. Let me know in the comments what you'd like me to talk about. I am thinking about doing a YouTube video on why I'm a feminist, and you should be one too. So if that's something you'd be interested in, please do let me know. Subscribe, tell your friends, read my blog, send me money. Yay!